So, BAFTA, the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, has recently announced its nominees for the Virgin Media British Academy Television Awards. The list includes many titles that have already been widely recognized and discussed throughout the season: Game of Thrones, Chernobyl, Fleabag, Succession, Unbelievable, The Crown, and many other truly admirable television shows. But I would like to spend a little time singing my praises to a mini-series that, for some inexplicable reason, has remained in the shadows of the international spotlight: The Virtues. Shane Meadows, the multi-award-winning director of This Is England and all its spin-offs, strikes again. The Virtues, a 4-part series that he created and directed, is nominated for 5 BAFTA Television Awards. It also won the Grand Prix at the Series Mania Festival in 2019. But most importantly, it makes a magnificent use of all the strengths of the medium of television and reveals the transformative power of the intimacy and empathy between the audience and the characters of the show. I was fortunate to see The Virtues at the Series Mania Festival last year and to participate in the after-screening discussion with the creator of the show, Shane Meadows. He shared a little bit of his work process with us, and I found many aspects of it truly fascinating. I learned that Shane Meadows shot The Virtues with 5 to 9 cameras and used professional as well as non-professional actors. He never fully blocked his scenes in rehearsals because, to him, the main goal of the rehearsals was to make sure that the actors peaked during the take. Consequently, he rarely did more than 1 take and never shot out of sequence, as he wanted to be able to make changes to the scenes based on artistic discoveries that he, together with the cast and the crew, generated in the process of shooting. Although this might sound like a very intense and demanding work process for everyone involved, it has produced a piece of truly auteur television that provides the viewer with a fully absorbing and transformative experience, as close to Aristotelian catharsis as humanly possible, providing we know what Aristotle meant by the term. When asked about the theme of the series, Shane Meadows explained that he wanted to talk about judgment, from the point of view of both those who judge and those who are being judged. According to him, we as a society write people off too easily, without even trying to understand what led them to socially unacceptable behavior which we judge them for. In fact, every so-called asocial grimace hides broken hopes, pain, and a human life work to be made into a series. The Virtues focuses on Joe, a construction worker with serious drinking problems, who at the time when we first see him has been sober for almost 3 years. However, when he discovers that his ex-wife is moving to Australia and taking his 9-year-old son with her, he has a relapse, during which he spends almost all of his savings and loses his job. For the money that he still got left after his drinking spree, Joe sails from England to Ireland, where he sets off on a strenuous hike to, we don't exactly know where. Eventually, we figure out that Joe has been walking to his sister Anna, who, on seeing her brother, barely recognizes him. It turns out that Anna and Joe lost their parents at a very early age. While Anna was adopted by a nice foster family, Joe was admitted to an orphanage, from which he eventually ran away. Since no one in his native town saw Joe after his escape from the orphanage, everyone assumed that he was dead. Joe's return to his native town after 30 years of absence causes a lot of distress to his next of kin as well as himself. Visiting the places of his childhood, he starts remembering things that he has been trying to suppress all his adult life. This chaotic sequence of disturbing memories triggers a panic attack, after which Joe realizes that he was raped in the orphanage when he was 9. He tracks down his assaulter and goes to his house, craving for revenge. To his surprise, Joe finds his assaulter in quite a miserable state, lying in his bed, alone, immobilized by a terminal illness. He doesn't seem to be repenting for his sins, though. When Joe asks his assaulter, "How could you do it to me?" he replies, "And why not? What makes you special?" with a flicker of bitter anger in his eyes. I recognize this anger. I saw it too many times during the national tour of my documentary, Ethnic Kitchen, that tells life stories of immigrant women in post-Soviet independent Lithuania. When during an after-screening discussion, I would start talking about the struggles these women encountered in Lithuania, I would often be interrupted by angry audience members, most often women themselves, shouting to my face, "Why would we care? It's not like living in Lithuania is any easier for us." It's not an uncommon reaction from a traumatized person who carries her trauma in the form of anger, like a stone under her neck. It drags her down in the pit of misery, nihilism, and often cruelty. The problem is that anger doesn't solve anything, either for the traumatized person or for everyone else who, to her mind, deserves the same suffering that she has been undergoing. In The Virtues, Joe's reaction to this kind of anger is quite remarkable. He approaches his assaulter, grabs him by his neck in a wrestling movement, and when it seems that he's about to strangle him, Joe whispers into his ear, "I forgive you." This forgiveness only amplifies the assaulter's anger. He doesn't want to accept it. How can he accept forgiveness from his victim if he hasn't forgiven himself? But that is not Joe's problem anymore. He's out of the door in his sister's car, going back to her place, ready to heal. Since I've mentioned the transformative power of the virtues, it's probably only fair to explain how it transformed me. All the awe-inspiring artistry aside, the acting, the coverage, the camera work, the script, it made me ask myself what makes us virtuous. To what extent our lives are our accomplishment? Is it our achievement if we didn't grow up in an orphanage and weren't taken advantage of as kids? It's luck. And luck is no virtue. But what we choose to do with our luck, or lack of it, is. Why don't we choose to show empathy and give forgiveness to everyone who is in need of it, starting with ourselves? If you, like me, are looking for an answer to this question, watch The Virtues with all its storylines. They definitely contain some valuable insights.